Hey, 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 all you wagon wheelers, all you wagon rollers, welcome to the latest and greatest episode of the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your co-host, as always, Pat, and join with me, as always, the two best fantasy football minds around, Brad the Dad and Josh the Boss. Follow myself on Twitter at HattrickPat37. For Brad, it's at Tack Jones, and for Josh, at FF Josh Hughes. If you like what you hear and want more hot takes, follow our show at Empty Wagon FF. We're also on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're all over the internet. And that is all thanks to Blue Spade Productions for spearheading our social media presence, getting our name out there, our passion project online. You can follow them on Twitter at Blue Spade Pro. And they got some pretty sweet beats. If you like those beats that you heard on the intro, that's Beats by Jay. Anyway, let's get this show started, this wagon rolling. Hand it over to the favorite fantasy football mind experts, Brad and Josh.
What's going on, Josh?
Oh, nothing. Still crippled. That's pretty much it. I'm not crippled. So if you're actually crippled, I don't want to offend you, but no, I'm still on crutches, and it sucks. But I'm getting kind of used to it. It's my norm. What about you guys?
Well, I'm over here in Indiana hanging out with the family. So we're coming via Skype this week, maybe for the next couple of weeks, as long as I can get on a computer and don't oversleep like I did this morning and get us started late.
I was really expecting you to have a Ron Swanson mustache by now, so I'm a little disappointed in that.
I mean, it takes a few days. Give me a couple of days. It's only been 3 days.
Well, Ron Swanson grows a full beard in 3 days, so.
Yeah, I'm not a real man.
I like how you just took the whole month off.
Yeah, that's what you do.
No, I've never done that. Well, I mean, other than right now because of my knee surgery.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You're a hypocrite.
You just took the whole month off. He's like, I'm not going to work for a whole month.
Anyway.
Yep, you guys need to learn. Get on my level.
You're right.
Well, my week's been pretty good. It's been me and Elsa the Aussie over here. The wife's over at flight attendant training, so plenty of time to play with the pup and work on the golf game. Got a new putter, so that's pretty awesome. Just rolling in the putts now, so PGA Tour. Expect me in 2050.
All right, I'm prepared to be a caddy.
All right.
Well, I roll in the putts too at putt-putt.
Yeah. Well,
so with my rubber putter.
Everybody's got to start somewhere, Josh. Everybody's got to start somewhere.
Yeah, you know. Oh, and I just want to thank everyone for all the plays that we got this past week. You know, hats off to you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your support.
Yep. So today on the show, we're going to talk running backs after our news and notes. We're going to break down the top 15 running backs. Don't mind the heavy breathing in the background. It's just Pat laughing because he's having to play tug of war with Elsa.
That's the heavy breathing?
Yeah, it's Pat's heavy breathing. The dog's wearing him out.
Elsa the Aussie.
Anyway, let's get into some reports and rumors. Some R's and R's here. Some news around the league. We'll talk about the first one, kind of the only one. Brandon Marshall to the Seahawks. Super fantasy relevant for teams that are 20 teams deep and you need a wide receiver 5.
Well, I got super excited about this, but then I realized you cannot put Brandon Marshall in at your tight end. Because I was like, oh, the Jimmy Graham rule. Woo! But then I was like, hold on. He's not tight end eligible. And the number 4 tight end is nowhere near good at a wide receiver rank position.
I got excited about this, but then I realized it's 2018 and Brandon Marshall's washed. So,
yeah, I mean, like Pat said, super deep leagues, take a flyer on him. Best ball, take a flyer on him because he may come up with a game with 3 touchdowns. But week to week, I'm going to have trouble finding places to start him.
I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he doesn't make it out of the preseason. I could see him getting cut, to be honest.
The deal is very incentive-based, though, so they might keep him because it's actually a really, really cheap deal unless he starts really performing. The max of the deal can be is $2.2 million, even if he hits every incentive.
Well, clearly, they have high hopes for him and think a lot of him.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't had 1,000 yards since 2013.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But if he gets 12 touchdowns, it'll look good at the end of the year, but it won't look good during.
He's not a great red zone guy. Plus, he can't get up anymore.
Wow,
12 touchdowns.
Is this segment brought to you by Viagra?
What?
No.
No, we don't have sponsors. You know that. All right, so.
Anyway, you ready for this? Johnny Football Watch 2018. Johnny. He's playing for the – what's he playing for? Tiger Cats?
Yeah, Tiger Cats.
Yeah, up in Canada.
First
our neighbors in the north.
Game, 9 for 11, 80 yards, and 0 touchdowns. But he's a playmaker, folks. He's getting his name out there.
Did they win the game?
No, they did not.
Oh,
that's because he didn't start.
It's preseason.
Okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, preseason.
But he did perform better than the starter. And the starter, I hadn't seen him in a while. I forgot the dude's name, but I remember watching him in college. I was like, oh, that's where that dude went? I didn't even know he still played football. He was like an Ole Miss quarterback and an Oregon quarterback for a couple of years, and he just kind of fell off the face of the earth. So, but apparently he's better than Johnny Manziel in this coach's eyes. I think we got a little Hugh Jackson situation up there in Canada.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Talking about Dennis Dixon?
Yeah, we'll see.
Quarterback?
Yeah, I don't remember.
I feel like if you watch Canadian football, a lot of it's going to be, hey, man, where's that guy? I remember that guy. I feel like that's a lot of Canadian football.
Well, Trent Richardson already gave up on the CFL. So.
Well, he's an Alabama player, so they give up on everything.
Oh,
right,
see?
Josh?
There we go. That's what I'm talking about.
I think he should just give up on football, period.
Yeah, go back.
He got his
and get
money.
your education. Yeah.
Anyway, some other takes around the world of sports. We got NBA Finals Game 2 tonight. And what in the world was J.R. Smith thinking?
He thought they were up. He thought they were winning. J.R. thought they were winning.
Oh, J.R. Oh, J.R.
You can't get mad at J.R. Smith for doing something not smart in the basketball world.
You can't?
No, because he's done this his whole career.
$14 million, and you can't expect him not to do something stupid? If someone gives me $14 million, I'm at least not going to make that kind of mistake.
LeBron begged for him. LeBron wanted him back. That's why they gave him the big money. So they got him back. He's done dumb stuff forever. He gave Jason Terry a hug who was on the bench during a play.
Yeah, he just, gotta dab up the boy,
Yeah.
During the play.
So
that's fine.
You can't get upset.
During Game 1 of the NBA Finals with 4 seconds left.
Oh, no, I'm not. Am I saying that it's not dumb? No, but you can't get mad at J.R. Smith for doing J.R. Smith things.
It just validated my first thought, and that is to not watch the NBA Finals.
Yeah. With J.R. Smith, you get the good and the bad. And trust me, he's going to give you good, and he's going to give you bad.
Yeah, well, maybe he should go back to the Knicks.
Anyway. If anything, I respect LeBron James a lot more now because he put up 51 points and has to deal with J.R. Smith. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. NHL Stanley Cup Finals, Game 3 on last night. The Caps won 3-1, so they take a 2-1 series lead over the Vegas Golden Knights. Brad, I think you said you watched hockey for the first time?
Watched hockey for the first time in probably 3 years, and I think the Golden Knights run's over. They may win one more game, but I think it's over. I think the Caps got it. What do you think, Pat?
I think Brendan Holtby is looking like an absolute brick wall there in net. And, yeah, I mean, their talent definitely is overmatched, or they're overmatching the Vegas
only
Knights.
goal the Knights got last night was when the goalie did a stupid thing and got caught behind the net.
Right, and he actually almost made that save. But, I don't know, we'll see. Hockey's a very big momentum swinging sport, so all it really takes is one game, one big occurrence, and momentum could swing. And I'm just glad they're going back to Vegas for Game 5 because I love those pregame shows. I know everyone, for the most part, doesn't like them because they think, all right, let's just get to the game. Nope, it's Vegas, and they are living it up out there before the game. And finally, before we get into our running back rankings 2.0, Belmont Stinks next Saturday. Justify going for the third jewel of the Triple Crown up in New York. And this will be the first Triple Crown winner since American Pharoah did in 2015. So it doesn't sound like that big of a deal, but before American Pharoah won, it was 1979, I believe, was the last one.
Yeah, it was in the 70s. I was thinking about that on my drive, actually, because I'm over here next to Louisville where,
Say that again?
Where the Derby's at. I'm over here by Louisville, where the Derby's at. Louisville. But I was thinking about, because before American Pharoah in 2015, it had been 40 years since the last Derby winner almost. And so it was a big deal. Do you think that it's kind of getting not as big of a deal because there was one just a few years ago, Pat? I know you watch a lot of horse racing. It's still a huge deal, but
I don't think it's losing any momentum or any of its significance, but I don't know. I mean, people don't watch horse racing that much, so I mean, they'll tune in for the Kentucky Derby, but that's pretty much it. And then I think people will tune in for the Belmont Stakes because Justify won the Preakness.
That's what everybody says, because the Kentucky Derby brings in a lot of crowd, and they say if the Triple Crown winner goes to the Belmont, their ratings are always better. Like if they won the first 2 legs and they're in the third leg, the ratings are always higher in Belmont than even if that horse doesn't win. It's just better for this sport.
So what a lot of people don't know, actually, about this is the last thing we'll talk about before we get back into football. But
horse racing.
There's about a 20-horse field in the Kentucky Derby, biggest field in any horse race. Then the Preakness, you have about 8 horses. Now, most of the time, those horses that qualified for a Kentucky Derby can still race in the Preakness, but they choose to sit out because they didn't win the Derby, choose to sit out and rest for the Belmont Stakes, which is the longest race. So that, to me, just... I'll put that pun out there, justifies the Triple Crown winner.
Ooh.
Because now you're doing 3 races in 6 weeks versus 2 other horses who are probably just as talented, only doing 2 races in 6 weeks. So, not to mention the travel and the rest time. So, that's where I think the Triple Crown, the reason it's so rare now is because back in the day, horses just race all 3 races. They wouldn't think about resting, and now they do.
And they probably race other races in the middle, too, because, people are out to get money.
I just want Rob Gronkowski to win it.
That would be amazing. But he would have to be on a Clydesdale.
No. Rob Gronkowski is a horse.
Yeah. There's a horse named Gronk.
You can't call a person a horse.
Explain this to him, please.
The owner named his horse Gronkowski.
Boom.
Oh, okay.
He scratched for the Kentucky Derby. Like in true Gronk fashion, he got hurt. So literally living up to the namesake there.
All right. Enough of this horses.
All right. You want to get into these running back rankings,
Yeah.
Josh? I know you do. You love running backs.
I do.
And we'll get into these running back rankings. So like our previous rankings, this is going to be, we'll get to the top 15 today. Give some honorable mentions to some other running backs. This is PPR format. And these are the stats we're going to bring up are the stats of last year. But, of course, you got your fantasy football mind experts here to let you know how they did in previous years, even in their college and high school years, if you want to get back that far, which we probably won't. But, hey, I'm putting it out there, putting them on the spot.
Kurt Warner, back in those days.
Yeah, CFL days. All right. So let's get into these running back rankings.
Arena football. That's arena football for Kurt Warner, not CFL. But
Oh, whatever.
There, see?
It wasn't the NFL, and that's the point.
Or Euro, NFL Euro.
He did play in the Europe League for a year.
All right, we're not here to talk about Kurt Warner. What actually I'm very excited about these running back rankings is that we actually kind of agreed for once. But I know there's still going to be some feuding between you and Brad, Josh. So.
Always.
But number 1, unanimous number 1, Le'Veon Bell. What a shock.
Go ahead, Josh. Lead it off. Le'Veon Bell's your guy.
I mean, it's pretty straightforward. The issue between him and Todd Gurley was the fact that, Todd Gurley's only performed at that level one time. I think now in another year of this offense with Sean McVay, they're going to be able to spread the ball out a little bit more. They're not going to have to rely on Todd Gurley as much. I'm still going to sit there and say he's my number 2. He's still going to be an incredible running back this year. But Le'Veon Bell, he's just consistently done it year in and year out, and he's on another contract year this year. So with over 80 receptions, that's the bigger thing that stands out to me. 1,291 yards. He only played in 15 games, but it wasn't because of injury this year. It's because he sat out a game. Consistency, 22.8 points per game. He was your number 2 overall PPR running back last year, and I expect him to be right up in there in the top 1, 2, and 3 again. He's as close as you get to a sure thing in fantasy football.
Yeah. I mean, Le'Veon Bell is what he is every year. My issue with him this year, and something that maybe some people can prey on, was just like last year, he's setting out for training camp and all that, trying to get this big deal because they franchise tagged him again and he wants that long-term deal. That he may have his first 3 weeks may be down again like they were last year. You remember, Josh, last year you were upset with Le'Veon He was not perform. He was giving you running back 2 numbers, but with Le'Veon Bell, the draft price you're spending on him, you want those RB1 numbers guaranteed every week. And he wasn't performing that. So he may be down again in the beginning of the year, but come on strong. So you may be able to prey on somebody who's down on Le'Veon Bell after 4 or 5 weeks into the season.
I'm just amazed that he still gets those amazing numbers. I mean, he's always a top fantasy player. Like by top, I mean 1 or 2. And the other 1 or 2 person is Antonio Brown, who's on the same team. So good for Ben to just disperse the ball to those 2 guys and those 2 weapons. I mean, I think I could quarterback the Pittsburgh Steelers with Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown. Just saying.
Nah. I mean, you probably could. You would be somewhat successful. You'd be up there with Bortles or Nathan Peterman.
Well, he'd be better than Peterman. I mean, Anthony, come on.
I don't think so.
I'll take Bortles.
Yeah.
Pat current facts. Go. All right.
I think the best thing with Le'Veon Bell is the fact that they have no tight end there. So if you look at our top really 4 running backs, the tight end isn't there as much, so they get those short yardage plays.
Hey, Jesse James is good for fumbling the ball on the goal line. All right, you watch yourself.
Well,
wasn't it? Oh.
They've actually talked about getting Vance McDonald more involved this year, and they do have a different offensive coordinator. I understand he's coming from the same system. He was a quarterback coach last year, but we'll see what happens with that. Either way, it's not going to affect Le'Veon. Le'Veon is who he is fantasy-wise.
So you're telling me a team that's never had a top tight end is going to wish in one hand and poop in the other and see which one fills up first?
Hey, don't use that against me, okay? We'll see. It's not going to affect Le'Veon. Anyway, number 2.
Unanimous number 2. Todd Gurley. And like you said in our previous episode, Brad, this guy won a lot of fantasy football leagues last year because people were down on him. He went, late second? And
yeah, I picked him a late second a lot.
Yeah, not going to happen this year. Easily a top 3 pick, probably top 2. But yeah, he's got some more weapons now. He's got, I guess they improved on defense, which should be interesting for him because then the Rams are going to be looking to run the ball more, hopefully, get a lead and chew clock.
Yeah, so in my leagues last year, I got a lot of Todd Gurley because everybody was down on him and I picked him up. I just wonder if they're going to give him the ball as much this year because they ran him into the ground. He was probably 70% of their offense last year when you talk about scoring touchdowns. And I'm a little nervous to see how they're going to use. They actually drafted another running back, and their running back that was hurt last year, I can't think of his name, but he was out. Their backup running back last year was Tavon Austin. And let's be honest, Tavon Austin ain't punching the ball through the middle at all. So I wonder if they give him a little bit more of a break because you could tell in the playoffs last year he was kind of gassed. So if they're trying to make a Super Bowl run, are they going to maybe control his carries a little better, which could knock him down?
Yeah, and that's kind of what I alluded to earlier. I think that they're not going to lean on him as much. I mean, he had 87 targets, over 60 catches. I mean, like you said, he was their offense. He had over 2,000 yards of total offense. I just don't see them using him that much this year. Obviously, he can handle the load. He did it last year. But I think that you're going to see a lower tick in production. Last year he accumulated 383 points in full point PPR. I see that dropping back down, coming back down to earth, maybe around 330, which is still going to be, RB1 numbers. He's still going to be a top 5 running back, but they're going to kind of utilize him a little bit less. And I think that's the right thing to do from a football perspective. It's going to hurt your feelings if you take him number 1 overall because you're expecting almost 400 points. But I think we should just temper those expectations a little bit.
Maybe they'll run some jet sweeps with the new addition, Brandon Cooks. And as long as he doesn't run around like a chicken with his head cut off, he won't get pulverized by Malcolm Jenkins again. So that's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Anyway, number 3. Are we done with Todd Gurley? Anything to add, Brad?
No, we can move on. Todd Gurley, he's great.
Yes, he is. Number 3, expected to play a full 16 games this year, or at least more than needed last year. Ezekiel Elliott. Josh and myself had him at 3. Brad, you had him at 4. So Zeke Elliott, Dallas Cowboys, Dak's best friend, and now Jason Witten should see more targets.
Yeah, he should see more targets, but who's the wide receivers there again? They have nobody. So he already went up against a lot of 8-in-the-box personnel, and I think that's just going to go up even more. I think everybody's going to crowd the line and make Dak beat them in Dallas.
They have Tavon Austin now, okay?
as a running back. They already said they're going to use him as a running back.
No, they're going to split him out. They said, he'll do stuff. Don't worry about that.
Stuff, yeah. Jeff Fisher said the same thing.
Yeah, well.
You got the all-dangerous Dak Prescott there, too. So
Yeah, but I have a good feeling that everybody's going to be like, all right, let's stop Zeke and make Dak beat us with his arm. So I'm a little nervous about Zeke's just ability to perform and, honestly, his ability to stay out of trouble. It seems like every year there's always something with him, with the league.
Well, I mean, as it sits right now, Zeke is not in trouble. And he is still an incredible talent. We're talking about everyone was comparing Saquon Barkley to Zeke this year. So that kind of tells you, and we know how Saquon Barkley, look at the legs on that guy. Guy's never skipped leg day in his life. I mean, Saquon Barkley is an incredible guy. So people are comparing him to Zeke. Zeke, yes, he's not right mentally all the time. He's still got some growing up to do. But even in the 10 games he played, he was still putting up RB1 numbers, averaging 20 points per game in a full point PPR, which is third best overall. So he was still doing better than your Alvin Kamara's and your David Johnson was our number 4, but he only played one game. He's doing better than your guys like Melvin Gordon, Kareem Hunt. I don't see any reason why he won't be able to reproduce those numbers. I understand you're saying the receivers, but they're going to spread the ball around. They're going to do what they need to do to make sure that Zeke is going to be utilized properly. For me, Zeke is still going to be the guy. And if anything, his numbers will go up because they will throw him the ball more, like Pat alluded to.
Yeah, I mean, those numbers should go up. Like I said, I'm fine with that. I want to see Zeke. I want to see Zeke come into camp in shape. We haven't seen that from Zeke yet. His first year, his rookie year, he came in really great shape. But that's because when you're a rookie, you really have no offseason. Last season, he came in a little bit overweight, and then he said it was because of all the issues with the league were going on. So I want to see it. I just want to see it. That's my thing. I just want to see it.
do you think that's why he cuts off the bottoms of his shirt because the stomach won't fit in? A little gut there.
No,
well, he's trying to show the He's trying to show the abs off, but
last
he
year
kind of didn't have them last year.
Last year was a keg.
Well, you know what? If you're depressed, you eat your feelings. People do that. It's okay.
Sounds like you have personal experience there, Josh.
Yeah, obviously.
All right, number 4, David Johnson. Myself and Josh had him at number 4. Brad, you had him at number 3. So you think David Johnson comeback train?
Yeah. David Johnson 2 years ago was what Le'Veon Bell or what Todd Gurley and Le'Veon Bell were. He was amazing. He was the number 1. He got hurt last year with a wrist injury. It's a wrist injury, and it took him. He got the surgery. He came back. He's fully healthy now. I don't have any injury concerns with him. It's a fluke injury to me more than anything. If it was a knee or something, maybe I'd drop him down a little more. But with just a wrist injury, and he was balling out in that first game of the season. He played not even a full half, and he had 13 points.
Yeah, he did pretty well.
So I just like David Johnson. Got a bigger history of him. He's in a bad offense. That does scare me, but he was in a bad offense before.
I mean, the same case that you're making against Zeke is the same one that can be made for David Johnson. Outside of Larry Fitzgerald, there's really not a lot of pass targets.
Whoa. Christian Kirk.
Yeah, so outside of Larry Fitzgerald, there's not a lot of pass targets. Christian Kirk's a rookie.
Bryce Butler.
Yeah, so we'll just Ricky Seals-Jones. Yeah, no, there's not a lot, but David Johnson, what concerns me is, like you said, the wrist thing's not a big deal. Well, the wrist is kind of a big part in carrying the football. So that does kind of concern me. I understand it was broken. Whenever your bones get broken, I'm going to go a little Stephania Bell on you. They seem to be a little bit more tender, and they could be broken again.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that was almost a full year ago. It's fully healed now.
There's still scar tissue.
It was healed last year. He was just building strength back up in it now. So if he comes back with it strong and ready to go, he's ready to go.
Yeah, he's still going to be a guy that I'm gonna take, but I'm not as confident into me. So for you, he's still part of this top 4 tier. And to me, he is as well because of what he has done in the past. His pedigree has earned him that. But I would have to say that I'm a little bit more hesitant when it comes to drafting him over our first 3 guys.
Yeah, I think that's why he's at number 4.
I can understand that.
Yeah. But I think those 4 guys we just talked about, That's your top 5 picks in fantasy redraft leagues easily. You throw Antonio Brown in there. That's your top 5.
Yeah.
Maybe Odell, maybe even DeAndre Hopkins, but for the most part, that's your top 5. Yeah, I don't love David Johnson just because I don't love Sam Bradford.
Are you kidding me? If anything, that's a plus.
Sam Bradford?
You don't need to worry about Bradford. You got Josh Rosen.
Yeah, Sam Bradford ain't going to play 16. We know that.
So a rookie quarterback under a new coach is going to do better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to hold you to that then.
All right, next.
Still not going to draft him. Number 5, Alvin Kamara. Hey, unanimous number 5. Well, what do you know? We all agreed. Alvin Kamara, number 5. Mark Ingram, everyone knows, suspended the first 4 games. So what's that going to do to Kamara?
All right, so when we did these before Mark Ingram suspension, I had Alvin Kamara down a lot more. I just think with 4 weeks with no Mark Ingram in there, that's just going to give him a bump in fantasy. You could use that to just build the case on him if you really got crazy and you got nervous that when Mark Ingram came back, his numbers were going to dip. And you could trade him, but I think he'll be solidified in the top 10 all year as a running back. He'll be a running back 1. He was a running back 1 last year, and he played, half a season barely. So I think if he gets a workload, they're already saying they're only going to give him 15 touches a game, though. But he did pretty well last year with less than 15 a game, so I'm not too worried about that. Josh, you got anything?
Yeah, no, for me, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, Alvin Kamara gets a huge bump, like you said, because of Mark Ingram. That's the biggest reason that I wanted to move him up as well. Before, I was kind of lower on him. I was targeting him in late first round, maybe early second. But now, with Mark Ingram out of the picture, you got a guy who still had 100 targets, and he didn't even play the first 4 or 5 weeks, really. He wasn't really involved in the offense at all because of the Adrian Peterson fiasco. Still had over 800 receiving yards, 700 rushing yards, only 120 attempts. So to me, it's going to go up. This is a guy who averaged 19.6 points per game, and he didn't even play the first 4 games or 5 games, however many was. That's phenomenal. So, yeah, top 5 running back for sure, without a question.
Yeah.
Talking about a guy who won a lot of fantasy leagues, Todd Gurley. I think Alvin Kamara definitely won a lot of fantasy leagues. What, you got something to say about that, Brad? But with playing the first 4 games and with Mark Ingram being out the first 4 games, are you guys worried about workload issues, kind of like we were talking about with Todd Gurley?
No, I think so. The difference between Alvin Kamara and maybe all the guys above him is that I have better faith in his coaching, and he probably has the best quarterback out of all these guys, so he's going to see probably the least amount of 8 in the box. Le'Veon Bell, maybe, they might not put 8 in the box against him. But Alvin Kamara, you got to respect Drew Brees. I know Drew Brees didn't have a great year last year, but he's still Drew Brees. He's still efficient passer. If you give him an open target, he's going to hit it every time.
All right, moving along. Our first rookie coming up, number 6, Saquon Barkley in the New York Giants. Me and Josh had him at number 6, and Brad, you had him at number 8. So this is to totally revamp that just terrible New York Giants running attack. They bolstered their offensive line, so that's something to look forward to. Eli Manning's still Eli Manning, so yeah, they'll probably be throwing a lot because they'll probably be down in a lot of games. But the good news is Saquon can still catch, and Odell should be back, so that should clear out some of the box, hopefully. Josh, what do you got to say about Saquon Barkley?
This was actually strange for me to put a guy who's never stepped on an NFL field so high, but it's pretty apparent to me that they're going to want to run the ball. They still have Odell Beckham there. They still have Shepard there to go ahead and solidify the passing game. Evan Ingram, you're hoping that that's going to take some of the guys out of the box. They tried to shore up their offensive line a little bit more. And I think that this is even going to possibly make Eli a little bit of a sleeper candidate with the addition of Saquon Barkley. Like I said, the guy has tree trunks for legs. Never skipped leg day. I mean, that dude lives in the gym. He's not human being. I'm willing to take a gamble on a guy like that who's obviously dedicated to his craft. We saw what he did in college. He could have easily went number 1 overall. I think that he did go too high in the NFL draft. But for your rookie draft to target him at the back end of the first round, you're going to be very happy, I think, with what you get out of Saquon Barkley. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, my only thing about Saquon Barkley is that Giants offensive line. It scares me. That's why I knocked him down so much, is because this is the worst offensive line of our guys, probably in the top 10 that we're gonna have. So they're gonna have to get him out the ball, swing it out to him, and then you're relying on Eli to throw accurate short yardage passes, that he can catch and actually turn up the field and run with, which does make me a little nervous. That's why I had him down at 8. I mean, I'm still putting him in the top 10. I'm still putting him in RB1 numbers, and he has the upside to jump into the top tier, but you also have that risk of him falling down and being an RB2 all year. And I mean, even at Penn State, he was one of those guys that he needs a lot of workload because he'll have 3 runs for like 3 yards and maybe 2 yards, and then he'll bust a big one. So depending on if they're down a lot and if that defense is bad and they go away from him and you just have Eli throwing the ball 40 times a game, that's going to really, really hurt his draft stock and everything.
Maybe boost his receptions. I don't know. We'll see. But I think they addressed the offensive line a little bit in the offseason. They added Nate Solder, and I'm pretty sure they added some draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just want to see it all come together because we've seen other teams make moves for the offensive line, and it hasn't worked out.
Well, if it doesn't come together for Eli Manning and a New York football team, I really won't be that upset. But that's me on a personal level.
Wow.
Anyway, number 7.
Pew, pew, shots fired.
No, it's not shots fired. It's just wishful thinking. Number 7, Melvin Gordon. Josh and Brad, you had him at number 7. I had him at number 9.
All right, Melvin Gordon. Yeah. Yep. I mean, he came, L.A. Chargers. It's never pretty to see him. His thing is touchdowns. I mean, Melvin Gordon gets so many touchdowns, receiving and rushing, and that's where he's good. But he's a 3.3 yards a carry, Josh? I know that's what you hate him.
So gross. I hate it so much.
But
I don't hate it that much. Put him at 7.
Yeah, but you can't you can't deny productivity, which is what I'm not doing. I don't like it. I'm not going to sit there and say if I had this list and I was just going off of name basis, Melvin Gordon wouldn't be in my top 10 because it's not pretty. It's not like he just blows you away with his talent.
He had 83 targets, which is the same as Todd Gurley, or really close to Todd Gurley.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be upset with having Melvin Gordon on my team.
No, especially if you're drafting. You're probably getting him late first, early second.
I would say he's a second-round running back.
But that's where you probably have to take him. Like if you're in a 12-team league, he's probably going late first, early second.
Yeah, 12-team league, absolutely. Late first, early second. You seem a little upset there, Josh. Do you want to add to the Melvin Gordon saga?
I just don't like him. I mean, it's like you said, you watch him in these games, and then if you're a fantasy owner, and I owned him in a couple of leagues last year, which I wasn't happy about. But you sit there and you look at the names that are on the board, and you can't deny what he does. He gets you points. It's not pretty. You're sitting there watching this guy play, and you're like, oh, great, another 2-yard carry. Oh, great, another 2-yard carry. And it breaks your heart. And then but then he'll score a touchdown, and you're like, okay, well, he didn't blow my week for me, but he didn't blow me away either. So it's just, for me, he's not one of those guys that are exciting, but I'm not going to deny, 18 points a game. I'm not going to sit there and say that he doesn't put up RB1 numbers, because he does. And if you get him, you're still going to be happy with overall how he performs.
Yep. I agree completely.
All right, number 8, Kareem Hunt in his sophomore year. Another one who was a pleasant surprise to most fantasy owners last year. Myself and Josh had him at number 8, and Brad, you had him at number 6. You're a little higher on Kareem Hunt.
Yeah, so I had him over Saquon and Melvin Gordon. The biggest reason was, one, like we said, we're not really high on Melvin Gordon. He gives you fantasy production, but the upside's really not there. He is what he is, and you know what he's going to get you. Kareem Hunt has more upside. He had a terrible middle of the season, a terrible 6 games last year, and he still finished in the top, 4 running backs? Like, he was top 5 running back, correct?
Yeah,
yeah. So he won you a lot of weeks. I mean, I know I had him, and he won me a lot of weeks. So it's only going to get better. He's been working on his passing game. So if they can get him out there, if he can be out there on third downs and all he has to beat out is Damian Williams and Spencer Ware, who's coming off a knee injury, who wasn't athletic, who was a fullback before. Sign me up all day. Kareem Hunt.
So you mentioned Spencer Ware, and that's the thing that actually does bother me is that we don't know what this backfield is going to look like. We know that Andy Reid can be stubborn. There were points throughout the season last year where it looked like he was almost kind of saving Kareem Hunt for the playoffs, and that's when he realized that he was destroying his team and almost ruined their chances of getting in the playoffs, and he handed over the play calling duty. Well, guess what? He's taken the play calling duty back over again, like we've already discussed, with that Waffle House call sheet. And the Walrus is back in town, and he's going to ruin Kareem Hunt. Spencer Ware will probably get more involved this year. They have better passing options now. Patrick Mahomes, like you've already said, is going to air it out. And I think that will – he's over there doing an air it out. Like, anyway, you guys should see this. But it's going to hurt Kareem Hunt a little bit. That's why I see a little bit of regression from him. I don't see him putting up those top 4 numbers this year. He can still be a top 10 running back because, Andy Reid's always had running backs who put up numbers. We can all agree on that. But it's just as far as the way things sit right now, he's going to kind of save him a little bit. I don't think he's going to utilize him as much as he did. And Spencer Ware, you're not going to lose your job because of injury very often. And I think that Andy Reid is one of those old school guys that will still give Spencer Ware opportunities to run the ball and be involved in the pass and the running game.
Yeah. And I understand those problems, but I don't think Spencer Ware is healthy. They brought in 2 running backs in the offseason. So, and Charcanic West is still sort of there, kind of, not really. I mean, I don't know. They say they're cutting him, but he's still on the roster.
Yeah, he'll still be there. I just think you're high on Kareem Hunt because of who we already talked about, Patrick Mahomes.
Oh, yeah.
Just by association.
That defense is going to be terrible. That does worry me about Kareem Hunt, that they're down so much. They do throw the ball a lot, and he doesn't get a lot of work.
Guys, when we mentioned Patrick Mahomes, he closed his eyes and acted like he was tasting a delicious pastry. He's like, so good.
Yep.
Well, I don't think it gets any better than that. And we can transition over to number 9, coming off injury, coming off his rookie, season, if you want to call it that. Not much of a season. He only played in 4 games.
Rookie campaign.
Yeah,
rookie campaign.
Rookie campaign. I like it. Dalvin Cook for the Minnesota Vikings with Kirk Cousins now. Josh had him at 9. I had him at 7. And Brad, not fond of him at all, having him at number 13. Other than coming off of injury, what don't you like about Dalvin Cook over there, Brad?
Oh, well, I was going to let Josh take this, but you say what I don't like. You said it, knee injury history. But I'll let Josh talk about it. I'll jump into injury history in a second.
So for me, this is huge upside right here, right? So right now we're getting into a bunch of guys who you're either going to be taking shots on guys that you feel very confident in, or you're going to take some upside here. Ideally for me, Dalvin Cook would not be my RB1, just based on the fact of that injury history, right? So, but seeing what he can do, I've watched him in college. We saw what he did last year in the NFL. I mean, he started to have some really big breakouts. He was targeted in the passing game a little bit in those 4 games that he played. And I only see the offense going to be revolving around him a little bit more, now that you have Kirk Cousins in town. He's going to throw it to the running back a little bit more, kind of like they used Chris Thompson last year. There's so many weapons there. The pressure's not going to be on Dalvin Cook to perform. And we already know Latavius Murray's still there. Kind of the same thing like we talked about Kareem Hunt and Spencer Ware in town. Latavius Murray's there, but I think that's going to take some pressure off of Dalvin Cook. And if he can stay healthy, he's going to give you RB1 numbers. But that is our biggest if, right? Health. That's probably why you had him at 13. Am I correct?
Yeah, like I said, every year that I've seen him play, I loved him in Florida State, but he was hurt. Like when he was on the field, he was amazing. But he wasn't on the field every game in college. And if you can't even make it through a college season, like we saw with Leonard Fournette last year, you're probably not making it through an NFL season, even if it's just those nagging injuries that keep you out a week. So, Josh, kind of what I'm hearing from you is that if you were in the back end of a first round, you might go like Dalvin Cook, Melvin Gordon, kind of like book him with another running back to kind of shore yourself up.
Yeah, I mean, that way I got 2 guys who I feel pretty good about. And for me, Dalvin Cook is a huge upside-based guy, right? So he could be a guy who could finish in your top 5 if he stays healthy. But we haven't really seen that. But I'm not going to deny talent either. That's why I still have him as high as I have him. Is to me, he is more talented than a guy like a Jerick McKinnon, more talented than a guy like a Christian McCaffrey or Leonard Fournette. It's just, what are we gonna get out of him health wise?
I think you would have him in his top 5 if he was an Auburn Tiger. Just saying.
Well, that's neither here nor there.
All right. Anything to add on the Sam Bradford of quarterback or running backs?
Wow, that's a lot to hit somebody with early in the career. No, they got a better quarterback there. You brought up Sam Bradford, so they do have a better quarterback. So his games last year that he did play and he was good in, those weren't great running defenses. But this year, maybe with a better quarterback, and then you got Thielen and Diggs on the outside, that opens up lanes for Dalvin Cook. But Latavius Murray may still red zone work, and that scares me even more too.
But that might keep him healthy if he's not in the trenches.
Yeah, but I'd rather you be getting me a couple touchdowns.
A couple teats.
Speaking of touchdowns and trench work, number 10, Leonard Fournette. This guy was rated number 9 by Brad, number 10 by Josh, and number 13 by yours truly. This is another guy that kind of was a nice fantasy surprise this year. And got a lot of touchdowns, a lot of rushing touchdowns. Not the best PPR guy. Doesn't really catch much. Doesn't do a lot of work in those halfback sweeps out of the backfield.
For me, what I was looking at is a guy who had the box loaded and still performed, got over 1,000 yards. They knew what was going to happen. Opposing defense is like, well, Blake Bortles back there throwing the ball, so we can just go ahead and put some one-on-one coverage on these guys and devote all of our attention to this running back. Still had over 1,000 yards. Only 13 games played. He had that one disciplinary game. He had an injury game or 2 injury games, but the dude still performed well, and that's against a stacked box. He had over 30 catches, 300 yards through the air, 17.7 points per game. That's RB1 numbers, guys. 230 points. I mean, once we start getting out of these top 10, you're starting to see a huge drop-off of production. So you guys need to make sure that you understand that. Leonard Fournette, I really do like what he brings to the table. It's not pretty. It's almost kind of like your Melvin Gordon situation. But the difference is the talent. He's much more talented than Melvin Gordon. Let's be clear about that. It's just because opposing defenses know that they don't really have to defend the passing game that much in Jacksonville. And even maybe more so now because they've let go of some of their main receiving options.
I love Leonard Fournette. Like, obviously, I have him ranked higher. This is PPR format. That's the only reason he's down to 9. If this was standard, I might have him in the top, like, around 6 or 7-ish in standard. Because, like you said, he doesn't get a lot of the passing work. They do still have TJ Yeldon and the other running back. They got rid of Chris Ivory, which I think helps him out. Leonard Fournette got some touchdowns vultured by the fullback last year. But his highlight plays are awesome. He had that play against the Steelers where they were just trying to run the clock out, and he ran 70 yards. And I think for the first half of the season, that was the fastest a player had ran with the ball all year. And this is from Leonard Fournette, who's, 280, 260? I mean, he's huge. He's a big man back there.
He's a very big man.
And he's got one of the fastest plays, like beating out Antonio Brown and all these fast wide receivers, Brandon Cooks.
He's so fast.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, nagging injuries are his ankle injury and his foot injury, they do scare me. But when he's on the field, you're starting him and you're happy about it. You're not upset. It's just, is he on the field?
He's such a fast, large man. I think we can.
And then that same Steelers game, too, where he called the DB to come over and then he just laid the dude out. And the guy tried to.
I remember that. He's like, come on. And then he just trucked the dude. That's a large, fast man.
Well, that's the DB's fault right there. Stat correction, I had him at number 10. You can thank my printer on that one.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense because I was like, his ranking's going to fall if that's true.
No, it was number 10. That's my bad.
Kind of Bush League production we running over there.
Whatever.
I'm out of town one
He's
day.
still number 10 overall. Yeah, clearly falling apart over here while you're in Indiana. Number 11, the Great White Hope, Christian McCaffrey.
I don't know if we need to refer to him that way, but
well, that's what he is. Josh had him at 11. Brad had him at 10. I had him at 12. Right? Is that right, Brad? Can you verify that over there? All right, awesome. Yeah, number 12. So he's coming in number 11 across the board. Played in all 16 games. PPR machine. Cam Newton loves him. Really not much running back competition over there in Carolina. C.J. Anderson, but let's be honest. Can he beat up the Great White Hope? No, he can't.
CJ 2K? Are you kidding me? CJ 3K. CJ 3K, over 3,000 career rushing yards. No, that's the problem with Christian McCaffrey is like, so you sit there and you look at his numbers and you're like, 400 rushing yards? That's disgusting. But he gets his work in the passing game. That's why he's still up here at number 11, 650 yards receiving, 113 targets. So the most on any one of our lists, and he's got over 80 catches. He's here strictly because of his passing game numbers. That's what they utilized him for in Carolina last year. That's probably what they're going to continue to utilize him for. They still don't have that many great receivers, maybe even one of the worst receiving corps in the NFL. And I wouldn't be surprised to sit there and see Christian McCaffrey. But if you're talking standard, which we do PPR, if he's standard, he's maybe around 20 for me.
He's not even in my top 20.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, if you guys are standard or even half point, you need to really be aware of his value. His value is strictly PPR based. So I do like him a lot here. He's going to be one of those guys that hopefully doesn't jump off the page for most people in your PPR drafts. And you can I can go ahead and get him maybe third round, which is great value for a guy who's going to catch you 80 passes.
Yeah, and probably not going to get a lot of touchdowns because C.J. Anderson and Cam Newton are going to steal all the touchdown work in the goal line.
That's true.
That's really all I got to say about him. You hit it all, Josh. Agree with everything.
Nailed it.
That's great. Fantasy minds at work, people. That's what you show up for. That's what you listen for. Now we can move on to number 12. And pretty interesting running back here. New team. Playing with probably the best quarterback in the league other than Tom Brady. Number 12, Jerick McKinnon. Josh had him at 12. Brad had him at 14. I had him at number 11 just because he's catching passes from the baby goat. I love it. I love Kyle Shanahan and his offensive great offensive mind over there in San Francisco. And I think that defense has improved. Not a lot of offensive weapons. I'll admit that.
You mean Pierre Garçon is not a great offensive weapon?
The great one?
The great one?
Chris Goodwin?
So, like I said, not a lot of offensive weapons, not a lot of names that pop off the stat sheet. But you got Baby Goat, who's going to make him pop off the stat sheet. Hey, you already talked about Kittle over there. You like your Skittles, so. All right, what do we got to say about Jerick McKinnon here? He's coming out of Minnesota. He had a great year in Minnesota in Dalvin Cook's absence. And now he's on a new team. Now he's running back one over there.
I think I have 49er fatigue, honestly. This offseason has been all about the 49ers and how they're going to be that comeback team that's going to be pushing for the playoffs and stuff. And honestly, that's a tough division to run the ball in when you get down to it. Seattle's still going to be good at stopping the run. Arizona was decent. They were middle of the pack last year in stopping the run. And then I know LA is going to be better than they were last year. That's 6 games. And then I believe the NFC and AFC West are swapping. So now he's going up against Denver. He's going up against the Chargers. You're the one that breaks down the schedules here, Josh, and these are pretty tough run defenses to go against.
Yeah, well, once you got to play the Chubb, that's a big deal. You want no, yeah, well, obviously L.A. I mean, going up against Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh, wow, you're going to be in for a bad day. So the issue with me is, and I never thought I would have Jerick McKinnon this high, but I'm not going to deny what Kyle Shanahan did with Devontae Freeman and Tevin Coleman in Atlanta. What?
And
what?
And the reason you have him so high?
Apparently Jimmy Garoppolo is a big reason why I had him high. I don't remember that being one of my main reasons, but
well, it is.
All right, so yeah, it was. He was utilized pretty well in Minnesota last year, even though he was still splitting the backfield. And I still don't think that he's going to be the guy who's going to be the workhorse, right? So he knows how to use his running backs. He used Tevin Coleman and Devontae Freeman like that. Last year was a lack of options. Carlos Hyde was the guy. Whenever they started getting Matt Breida a little bit more involved, he got hurt. So I still think, and we're not even talking about the guy who went into the season as the RB2. He got hurt as well. So they didn't have a lot of options behind Carlos Hyde last year, and Jerick McKinnon's body will not support, being a 3-down back. I don't believe that, but he's going to catch a lot of passes. They're going to split him out, and they're going to throw him the ball quite a bit. Outside of Goodwin and Garcon, there's not a lot of options. Kittle is not going to be an incredible tight end. I understand that because Garoppolo, I said it. So I understand that because Garoppolo came from New England, you guys are hoping maybe some Gronk-esque type numbers, but there's huge difference between George Kittle and Rob Gronkowski. I'm sorry if you believe that they're the same guy. But yeah, Jerick McKinnon for me is a guy who's he's going to put up RB1 numbers, and that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that he could be a serious breakout candidate this year. Spoiler alert.
All right, I think we can move on.
Well, just before we move on.
Okay.
He's not going to be a 3-down back because they don't need a 3-down back because Jimmy Garoppolo learned from the best about quarterback sneaks on 3rd and 1, 4th and 1.
Okay. Well,
so just saying.
There's that.
Jimmy Garoppolo probably number 2 on the RB depth chart there in San Fran.
All right, so we'll just move on.
Number 13, Devonta Freeman. Josh had him at 13. Brad had him at 11, and I had him at 14. So Devonta Freeman, Atlanta Falcons, RB1, but sharing a lot of time, as we mentioned just prior, with Tevin Coleman.
Yeah, I'm going to speed this up a little bit because we are kind of running long on time here. Devonta Freeman, he's Devonta Freeman. He is what he is. He had his awesome first year where he had those huge games, and ever since then he's been kind of a fringe RB1, RB2 guy. I don't really like having him on my team. It's always injury issues, the Tevin Coleman split and all this stuff. It's not pretty, but he's RB2 numbers. And when you start getting down here in these RB2 numbers, it's where I start getting yucky.
If I had him and Melvin Gordon on the same team, I could not hate my backfield more. That's how.
You'd probably be winning games. And
I would hate every week of it because I would feel so unconfident in my backfield every week. But yeah, Devonta Freeman, he's going to be a guy. He's going to get you points. It's not going to be pretty, but it is what it is. And this is the last year of Tevin Coleman. They paid Devonta Freeman to be the guy. He's going to be the guy. The concussions worry me a little bit, but yeah, he's going to put up solid RB2 numbers.
Yeah, I mean, you guys nailed it on the spot. Don't love him, don't hate him. He's your RB2. Number 14, LaShawn McCoy. Josh had him at 14. Brad had him at 12, and I had him at 13. So pretty much the same ranking there. We coming in at 14 overall, playing for the Buffalo Bills. So that's exciting. And
so exciting. LaShawn McCoy is going to get numbers because there's no other options. He's aging, but he still had pretty decent numbers last year. You're talking about a guy who had 263 fantasy points. That was actually good enough for RB1 numbers. Shady, you worry about the injury history and the fact that he is getting older.
New
quarterbacks. But it's just kind of one of those things. Like, you're probably going to get him late, and he's going to be a guy. Like, if you ended up pairing him with a David Johnson last year, you were still kind of okay because you had LaShawn McCoy, who put up RB1 numbers, and you got him late. So I wouldn't feel bad about this. I mean, for me, LaShawn McCoy is one of those guys who's just kind of tried and true, low RB1 numbers.
Yeah, I agree with you. LaShawn McCoy, we're probably all too low on him. He'll probably finish the season, make us all look dumb. But I think the reason we have everybody above him higher is because upside. You know what LaShawn McCoy is and all these other guys. We have the upside. We have our fancy new toys of all these rookie and young running backs. And he's that old guy that's been doing it forever. And 30 is that's the graveyard for running backs, right? And he's on the wrong side of 30.
It's not good.
Speaking of upside, and a lot of people were high on this candidate last year, coming in at number 15, Joe Mixon.
Love him.
Josh, you had him at 16. Brad, for someone who loves him, you have him at 15. And I also had him at 15. So, Brad, why do you love Joe Mixon?
I just think he'll get more work this year. They got rid of the old plotter there, Hill, and now it's just Joe Mixon, and Giovanni Bernard is going to steal the passing order. That's still why I have him at 15, because in the PPR format, he's probably still going to get some work stolen from Giovanni Bernard. In the 3rd and longs, he probably won't be on the field because Gio is such a good pass blocker, and that does hurt your young running backs. But if Marvin Lewis changes his mindset and realizes, hey, I have talented young people on my team, let me use them the right way, hey, he could be a top 10 running back.
Well, see, that's where you mess up right there. Is you're expecting Marvin Lewis to use his players correctly. Come on, don't be stupid.
You mean be a good coach?
Yeah, I don't know how he's hanging on still.
I admire it because he's kept his job against all odds, and good for him, good for him.
He's tricked them. He's clearly tricked them into thinking that he's going to be somewhat decent one day, and he's not. Never won a playoff game. Anyway, Joe Mixon for me is not going to be a guy who's going to have a breakout this year. I think we've already seen what he's going to do. I understand the offensive line was horrible last year, but you're banking on Marvin Lewis to be a better coach. You're banking on Andy Dalton to be a decent quarterback. And those are things that I'm just not really willing to put my fantasy likes on. If I'm seeing Joe Mixon or our next couple guys on the list, I'm going to skip over Joe Mixon. I probably won't even draft him.
I understand that, and I'll come in behind you. I'll get Joe Mixon, and he'll finish higher than your guys, and I'll laugh in your face.
Okay, well, I guess we'll see about that.
Real nice.
I have to get fiery. We've agreed way too much on this one.
Yeah, that's true. We did agree a lot, and that rounds out the top 15. 16 on our list was another rookie, and the only other rookie that we will mention other than Saquon Barkley, Rashard Penny in Seattle. Josh had him at 15, me and Brad had him at 17, and Pete Carroll's already said he's a 3-down guy, he thinks. But Pete Carroll we're talking about. What does he know about running the ball? But yeah, they're pretty high on him in Seattle.
I just don't trust anything a coach says in the offseason.
That's true.
It's all just rumors. Yeah. All right, I think that about wraps up the show. It's a pretty long one here, over an hour probably, once we get done editing.
Well,
so, Pat, you want to send us off into the weekend or the week? Oh, unless Josh, you have something to say real quick? Sorry.
I'm good.
Okay. All right,
Good
Pat,
take.
send us off into the week.
Thank you all again for tuning in to the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football Podcast. As always, find us on Twitter at EmptyWagonFF. If you like our hosts, you can even follow them at Tack Jones for Brad, at FFJoshHughes for Josh, and at HattrickPat37 for myself. We're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're all over social media. Thanks to our awesome partners at Blue Spade Pro, Blue Spade Productions, Beats by Jay. They're a great duo, they're a great team, and I think they might be the reason we're getting all these followers, getting all this attention. So thank you, Blue Spade Productions. At Elsa the Aussie if you want to follow her on Twitter. She's a cute Aussie to look at. But yeah, she's in the studio today. She's recording with us, eating that Skippy peanut butter. Anyway, thanks for listening again to our Running Back Rankings 2.0. Tune in next week for, who knows, it could be anything. We might do breakout or bust. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about some conferences, some standings, some divisions. You'll just have to tune in and find out. But as always, thanks for listening to the Empty Wagon Fantasy Football Podcast.
Later.
Bye, guys.